So what is the difference between a router and a modem? If you don't know the answer to this or you don't know what that means, please watch this video and break it down really simple, and literally everybody needs to know this, especially if you're thinking about upgrading your internet in the future ever. So your router and your modem are two separate devices that are responsible for getting internet into your house. Let's start with what the modem does. All a modem is a really fancy converter. It converts the coax cable that comes from your wall and converts it into an Ethernet cable signal that you can then plug into your computer. You can, in theory, at this point, plug this Ethernet cable into a desktop computer and you will have internet. That's not obviously very good though, because you need more than one cable and you need wireless internet. Now, before we jump onto the router, which solves those two problems, the modem itself is a very simple device that you'll almost never need to even think about upgrading. The one you get from the internet provider will be able to handle converting that signal, no problem, nonstop. The router is where all the magic happens. Now, the router is what most of us think about when we think internet stuff. The router does two separate things. It takes one Ethernet input, usually from your modem, and splits it out into a whole bunch of different outputs. This function is called a switch. You don't need to know that, but it takes one Ethernet input and lets you get a bunch of outputs. The second thing it does is give you wireless connectivity. If you want better wireless connectivity, if you want more speed coming through your ports, or you want to be able to handle more devices, these are all times where you're going to want to upgrade your router. So that should be simple, right? The modem converts the signal from the coax cable and inputs it to the router to be distributed. That's the case, but something has changed that's made this whole thing a little bit more complicated. And that's these. This is what most people are going to have. This is a modem router combo, so it serves both functions. You'll see the coax cable here converts into Ethernet signal, and then it disperses it wirelessly and gives you all the ports to go through. This is great because it's a really easy one-stop shop solution, but it makes upgrading a huge nightmare. But there is a way around that. Why would you even want to upgrade from this? Well, those reasons I talked before. You want better wireless speed, you want more ports, you want all of these things. You're going to need to break out of this thing's router, but you're still going to need the modem attached to that. To do that, it's a really simple solution. Google how to put your specific router from your provider into bridge mode. What bridge mode is going to let you do is effectively convert this router modem combo into just a modem. So you could then go from one of these Ethernet ports to your aftermarket router. Now you're able to have an aftermarket router with your modem router combo. If you want faster internet, or maybe your router doesn't support 2.4G and you need that for smart home devices, this is a really great solution that not a lot of people know about. By putting your modem router combo in bridge mode, you can now upgrade your router and roll with whatever you want. Anyway, that's Internet Hardware 101. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'd be happy to help. I appreciate all y'all for watching. Thanks, bye. Today we're going to tackle one of my favorite smart home related questions, and that's how much extra does it cost in electricity to have a fully connected smart home that's all plugged in 24/7? I love this so much because the answer is super counterintuitive, because having a smart home actually saves you quite a bit of money on electricity. Let me explain. A little bit of context on me if you don't know me. I do smart home stuff, and every single device in my home is connected to the internet. I have over 100 of them, whether that's like my thermostat here, or the light switches, or my door lock here, or your more traditional devices like TVs and soundbars and stuff. All this stuff is connected to the internet, so I can fully control it with my smart home. But that's beside the point. How does all of these electronic things actually save me money on electricity? So there are two driving forces that allow smart devices to save you money. So the first reason is actually really simple. Smart devices, just by nature, are going to be at the bleeding edge of development for whatever their device category is. Smart bulbs are the perfect example. Even though they need that extra little bit of power to connect to the internet, the LEDs in those smart bulbs are likely going to be much, much better and much, much more power efficient than whatever you have in your home currently. This logic applies to most plug-in smart devices, things like TVs, appliances, all these sort of things. Obviously, it's not a blanket rule, but in general, by upgrading to the smart device, you're getting something newer and better and therefore more power efficient. Now, the second reason, and this is where you're really saving money, that's in your automation and your finite control over all of the devices and when they're powered on and off. Perfect example of this are thermostat automations. There are so many ways you could automate a smart home, whether you're using sensors, whether you're using your phone to tell whether you're not at your home, whether you're using time of day automations. You're going to be able to automate the thermostat to only be heating or only be cooling when you need that heating or cooling, and you'll have full granular control over it. You can do the same automation to your lights, speakers, TVs, whatever you have connected to your smart home. Once you have your automations down pat, the device will only really be turned on when you really need it, which will result in a pretty significant power saving. On top of that, it's just having full control and transparency over every device in your home. You'll be able to check your phone and turn off all the lights before bed. You don't leave the bathroom light on just because you don't want to get up and turn it off. You now are able to fully check everything when you leave the house, make sure everything's turned off. Everything will always be in the state you want it to be, nothing more and nothing less. Anyway, all that being said, I found that after implementing my smart home devices on this new apartment I moved into, my bills have gone down around 30% in cost. Honestly, most of that has been attributed to the smart thermostat, but about 5% of that is probably coming from the devices and automations and all those other things. Anyway, I hope that was somewhat helpful. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any more smart home questions, leave them in the comments. I appreciate all of y'all.